Information-fueled.
Opinion-driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
we talk news.
7:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Be careful out there, friends. The roads, they are slick. Got snow flurries across Middle Tennessee. Want to welcome on into the program Congressman Scott Desjarlais. And Congressman, I believe you've got a little bit of snowfall there in Washington D.C.
It's going to be a snowy day.
How many inches are they talking about there? Because I mean, I've seen some horror stories. I don't know.
5 to 6 probably.
Okay, but in Washington D.C., that's not enough to stop business. People are saying that if Mike Johnson was able to, he could do the certification on another day, but you don't think that's going to be necessary?
Well, what we need is a quorum, which would be 218. There'll be people that'll have travel problems because this storm stretched across the country. But as long as you have 218 members, you can move forward with the certification. And I suspect this one will be pretty seamless. I don't think the Democrats want to look like election deniers after using that term for 4 years. So with Trump winning the popular vote, I think this one will be pretty smooth.
I thought it was interesting, actually. Hakeem Jeffries, I don't know if you were in the room when he said this, when he was giving his speech on Friday.
The American people elected Donald Trump as the 47th president of the United States of America. Thank you for that very generous applause. It's okay. There are no election deniers on our side of the aisle.
You know, I thought that was kind of a punk-a thing to say, Congressman, because they have been sitting by quietly while Joe Biden was supposedly, this duly elected president back in 2020, that he wasn't clearly not actually running the country. Unelected advisors have actually been running the country. So I thought that was interesting, the gaslighting from the folks on the left. I guess that's going to continue even with Donald Trump in office.
Yeah, it is. And his speech went on and on and on for 20, 30 minutes. And as you know, he uses more hand gestures than anyone I've ever seen. But no, he took a number of shots and talked about how the Democrats are the party that works together. And what was kind of sad was that, I get the sense that people are ready to work with Trump and they've accepted him. They can't attack him anymore. He's not a threat because, he can't run again in 4 years. And so, I was getting the sense from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle that they're willing to work together. So when Jeffries gets up and gives a very divisive speech like he did, where it was like a State of the Union, their side didn't stand up for anything Mike Johnson said. Our side really couldn't stand up for anything he said because he kept taking shots at us like that. And, they're supposed to be the leaders and the ones that want to unify the country and work together, but yet the sarcasm was obvious in a lot of his comments. There was no sincerity there.
Well,
and that's the guy that was leading him.
Right. And one of the questions I would ask when he says something like,
it's time for us to come together, not as Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans, to get things done for the people.
Do you think that, Congressman, that he really believes that? Because, he talked about how we need, I thought this was laughable, when Hakeem Jeffries said, we need to secure the border. And I ended up screaming at the TV. It's like, are you kidding me, really? So I guarantee you that what they're going to do is the second that you Republicans say, we want to start deporting criminals and start building the wall again, they're going to, all of a sudden, all this talk of bipartisanship is going to go by the wayside.
Yeah, they're going to want to talk about amnesty, talk about dreamers, and they have a completely different concept of securing the border. They have no desire to. It's a way to populate red states with potential Democrat votes. I've never seen anything like it over the last 4 years. We've got not only the financial cost of the country of anywhere from 15 to 20 million illegals that came in under the Biden administration, but it's probably somewhere around 88,000 per person per year. You've got every child that comes in qualifies for the SNAP program. if they're 18 and under. All the asylum seekers granted asylum qualify for the welfare programs. They're going to be a public charge. All of us are working, paying our taxes for these folks that the Biden administration decided to let come in. And then we're not even getting into the criminal part of it, which the gotaways are gotaways because they're here for nefarious reasons. And it's a huge problem. And so, yeah, as we start to deport the criminal element first, they're going to pitch a fit and talk about how heartless we are and so on and so forth. So they don't have a plan to take care of the people. They just want to get as many in the door as possible. And you've seen that continue, and it will right up until the 20th.
I know you folks had a big get-together over the weekend with Mike Johnson. I don't know if Donald Trump was there. But was this all the Republicans in the House of Representatives? Was the Senate there as well? Was Donald Trump there? And how did you feel that went? Is everybody on the same page?
Well, what Trump wants is one reconciliation package. And for the listeners, reconciliation is when the Senate doesn't have to have 60 votes. You can have a simple majority. So you can do that basically once a year. It relates to budgetary things. There's some in our party who want to split it into two bills, deal with the border first. That's mainly the Freedom Caucus type members. And Trump wants to do what he calls one big beautiful bill and get everything we can economically, energy wise, all that into one bill and get it done as soon as possible. So there's already some differences on strategy of moving forward, but I do think we need to move quickly on this initial reconciliation package because a lot of times you only get one bite at that apple, and we need to get it right.
Is there a concern that Republicans are always talking about how, well, we have this one big giant omnibus spending bill and, we can't really delete things that we want to delete if you want the borders closed, you've got to vote for this other thing over here. And it's just, is there a concern that you guys are doing it again, if you will, which is just this one mammoth bill that ends up having stuff in there that your constituents don't really approve of just to get the things that we do want?
Right, and you saw it right up till Christmas there with the struggle we had passing the CR till March. So we're going to be dealing with this again very soon. And as far as how we fund the government through September, and it'll be a big fight. It won't be the proper process. It won't be through appropriation bills. But I do like the fact that we have big business leaders like Elon Musk or Vivek Ramaswamy helping guide the waste and abuse. Because if we can communicate to Americans where the waste is, and you say, well, look, we have all this government office space around the country and only 12% of it is occupied, and talk about how, closing some of these facilities or making people come to work. It's amazing how many government workers are still not going to work. Then you turn to the Pentagon and other places where there's tremendous waste. It's going to be harder to cut spending than, people think. They make it sound like it's easy. We're going to cut $2 trillion. It'll be hard because as soon as it touches a program that you care about, you're going to be upset. You can cut spending and you can get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, but don't do anything that impacts me personally. So it's going to be extremely important that we have these people out there, myself included, communicating how ridiculous some of the bureaucracy and waste within government is, and that we're all going to have to take a little bit of the pain to get this done right. So it's going to be a heavy lift. I agree with you. I worry that we're going to go down the same path and people are going to pitch a fit. But if we can communicate to the people how utterly ridiculous some of the government spending and how huge and bloated it is, I think that they'll go along with us. They just have to know, what their part in it is going to be, and where they have to tighten their belt. And if we all can get together and do this, I think we can at least move right in the right direction.
Congressman Scott Desjarlais is joining us here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Congressman, we've got a smattering of snow here in Middle Tennessee, so I got to jump the traffic. Coming up, though, we're going to talk a little bit about raising the debt ceiling. Details straight ahead. Time to check the roads on WTN. It is snowy, Christy. Appreciate the traffic report. It's 7:16 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. As far as your weather here, yes, it is snowing across Middle Tennessee. Roads are going to be slick as well. And right now, 29 degrees at Super Talk 99.7. A lot of the school districts, apparently not all of them, but some of the school districts are going back to school this morning. So be careful, because school buses and kids will also be around and about this morning. Congressman Scott Desjarlais joining us on the Super text hotline. No, on Super... on the Newsmaker hotline. There you go. I think my brain is frozen, Congressman. All right. So talking about raising of the debt ceiling. So talk about that. I know that's something that Trump wanted that to happen during the Democrats, during the previous session of Congress. Now, unfortunately, he's got to deal with it. And so what's going to happen with the raising of the debt ceiling?
Well, it's like we didn't give him a blank credit card, but, Trump's a businessman. He's a real estate developer, and I guess he knows that you got to spend some money to make some money, and he's done it, throughout his life. And so I think his mentality is that, I have to have the capital to make all these things happen. If we're going to bring manufacturing back to the United States, if we're going to generate our energy and independence, reopen pipelines, do all these things, you need capital to do that. And so I think that's the way, he looks at the business, and he's been successful. The problem is, can we spend that properly? He's already talking about purchasing. I think I was listening to your show here just before I came on. Purchasing, was it Greenland?
Yeah.
From Denmark, and that can't be cheap. So where does that kind of money come from? But the debt ceiling is one of those things that we approach every couple of years because we run out of credit. And until you cut spending, that's going to happen, or you default on your debt. So at some point there will have to be an increase in the debt ceiling. But I think, again, it needs to be communicated what, where, why, how much, and what's the plan, what's going to be the benefit for doing this. You really can't not do it, but it'd be nice to find some of these $2 trillion in savings that are entrepreneurs that are advising the president have been talking about. So if we could find the cuts or the offsets, then I think, again, communicating to people, they would understand why we're raising the debt ceiling to get from point A to point B. So, it's going to be a big fight. It was a fight before. It's going to be a fight in March, and ultimately it's going to happen to some extent. But it'd be nice to have some details in terms of his plan on where we're going to get these cuts in the future to make this a worthwhile process.
Congressman, so Friday was, crazy with Mike Johnson, the confirmation vote and everything. So one of the things that I thought was interesting is the president-elect himself making those phone calls to those holdouts. How unified is the Republican Party right now? Are the Freedom Caucus folks and, the rest of the Republicans, are they feeling unified right now? Or do you sense that there's going to be a lot of inter-party bickering over the next couple of years?
I sense that there's going to be a lot of inter-party bickering. It wasn't as bad or as ugly as it was 2 years ago with Kevin McCarthy. Kevin was cutting deals with people, 15 rounds of voting, 4 days. I was really disappointed because we all knew where this was going. We all knew Mike Johnson was going to be our guy. And honestly, I don't know that any of the people that objected or withheld their vote on the first round had a plan B. It's like, we're all going to unify around, Tom Emmer or Steve Scalise for Speaker. I don't think anybody had that plan. I think they just wanted to prove some kind of point. I'm not sure what it was, other than to make us look dysfunctional. That's the one thing I appreciate about the Democratic Party. They get together behind closed doors, come up with a plan or a play, and they stick with it. They're all on the same team, and they run that play. Well, we had to, there was a handful of guys that had to stand there and stare down the speaker and not vote when they called their name, and then, 2 or 3 voted for someone else, knowing in the end that it was going to turn out the way it turned out. And so I don't know if they just wanted to get a phone call for Trump or what kind of concessions they were trying to get from the speaker, but I thought it made us look dysfunctional, and to me it was a red flag for times to come. I hope it's better than it was last year, considering we're going to be 219 to 215 here until they fill Matt Gaetz' seat, and then when Elise Stefanik and Michael Waltz leave, we're going to be basically either 218 or 217 to 215, and so we have no margin for error. and we all have to work together as a team. I've taken very conservative votes my entire time in Congress. Maybe some of us conservatives are going to have to take votes we're a little more uncomfortable with to make a team play, to work with the Senate and work with the president's vision, because America clearly elected Trump to run his agenda, and we need to be working with him, not against him. And within our own party, we've got to find a way to come together. But there are always a handful of people that their vision is more important than the team's vision. And I understand and respect people's districts, and I know what my district is, but I know they voted for Trump and they voted for me, and I think they would want us to work together.
All right, Congressman Scott Desjarlais, always great to have you on. Good luck today.
Can I just share a moment? Congressman, it's Joan.
Yeah, hold on. I got to put him back on the air.
Oh, he's not on the air.
Hold on. I got to figure out. Go ahead, Joan.
Congressman, it's Joan. Can I just share that kind of laughable junior high moment that we had earlier on Twitter last week?
Sure.
Okay, here we go. Ready? I'm going to play it for us.
We will fight hard
This is Hakeem Jeffries.
to defend the freedom of opportunity that makes the American dream possible. We will fight hard for the freedom to vote.
He did.
Okay.
He said fart hard.
He said fart hard.
Did all the Republicans? Because I'm going to admit I actually tweeted out that moment.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Yeah.
I isolated that where he said fart hard.
Yeah.
And I started giggling like a seventh grader.
Yeah.
I think Eric Swalwell probably stood up and cheered.
All right. Thank you,
Well
Congressman.
done. Yeah. All right. We just had to have some levity to end it with.
Fart hard.
Yeah. Move on, everybody.
We will fight hard for the freedom to vote.
So I saw that and I thought it was funny as all get out. And, that is where they do most of their thinking, actually.
Yes.
Is coming out of the backside there. So go ahead, move on. Joan, what's coming up at 7:30?
Yeah, it's the big indignation today for Kamala Harris. She is the one person who must certify President Trump's
This is so awesome. Did you see
presidential
J.D.
win.
Vance laughing?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh, J.D. Vance was laughing at Kamala Harris having to swear in the new senators.
Oh.
And J.D. Vance was laughing. And just at the fight, at the sight and the thought of Kamala Harris, she is the reason why the Democrats are in this mess, and now it's the ultimate indignity.
Yeah.
Where she has to now swear in the new Republicans. It's great. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We'll have a little of that and a little bit of weather, too, coming up in the news at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Joan. 7:24 Nashville's Morning News. Dan Mandis here. Where can you kick off the new year with big savings on gig speed? Only with Xfinity now through January 16th. Get gig internet at home for $25 a month for 1 year when you add an unlimited mobile line, which connects you to a gig speed Wi-Fi on the road. Now you act fast today and save more than $650 over AT&T and Verizon in your first year. Plus, hurry and take advantage because right now you can also get a free 5G phone with trade-in. So save big and stay connected to what you love with fast gig speed internet and mobile. From home to hotspots this new year, it's all about gig speeds and big savings. So don't wait and get gig speed internet. Spend less green and switch to Xfinity. Go to Xfinity.com/gig savings to learn more. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment taxes and fees extra. Internet discount applied to mobile bill. $40 internet discount applied to mobile bill. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon Fiber Gig Plus One Unlimited Welcome Line and AT&T Fiber Gig Plus One Unlimited Starter Line. Xfinity Internet required. Reduced to speeds after 30 gigabytes of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual savings vary.